What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 3 of Jay and Kramer. He's Jay, I'm Kramer, and today we have a special guest. We have the legend, Pat.
Brandon, that's quite the intro. Thanks for having me on today. I'm excited to talk to you guys. Brandon, you're a bundle of energy, so I'm excited for what we have in store.
All right, so we're just going to get right into it. No need to waste time. So today we're going to talk about Rob Manfred, everyone's favorite person. Specifically him and Trevor Bauer. So we know this year Trevor Bauer wanted to wear the free Joe Kelly cleats, and he was threatened by the MLB. He was either going to be suspended, fined, ejected, all that shit. So recently, I forgot what shoes. So according to the rules with MLB, you can't wear something that promotes something else. I don't know. One guy wore, was it like Chick-fil-A shoes or something like that?
I think it was In and Out.
Yeah, In and Out.
Yeah.
And Bauer, being Bauer, went through the rules and said that's not allowed. But MLB literally posted it on their Twitter account. Yeah. And Bauer's over here getting – A's actually did not even break the rules. It was just a shot at Rob Manfred. So what do you guys think?
I mean, we've talked about it before. I think MLB just loves controlling narratives. And, you know, they are obsessed with this whole, like, engaging the youth thing. But they kind of cut around the edges when they do it. So, like, a guy wearing In and Out cleats is the way they think that they can reach the youth. And so they'll repost that and kind of completely forget that that's against their rules or their idiotic rules that they made up. But, you know, Trevor Bauer is like the perfect kryptonite for Rob Manfred. I'm really excited to see how that develops over the next few years, or as long as Bauer is in the game and Manfred is commissioner. I don't think Bauer's going to let up on him. And I don't want him to, because that's how things are going to continue to change in the game. And the players are going to continue to be heard if you guys have guys like Bauer who represent the players and basically says what everyone else doesn't want to say. So I'm glad that the MLB has a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, my input on it, I'm super disappointed that Bauer wasn't allowed to wear those free Joe Kelly cleats. First of all, I thought they were awesome. And if they're looking to promote to a younger market, I mean, what's better than those free Joe Kelly cleats? I mean, the whole Joe Kelly situation was one of the biggest stories in MLB all year. And they really didn't capitalize on it, mainly because of the controversial suspension that they gave him. But yeah, Bauer, he's that guy. I think you guys did a whole podcast about that, how he's basically saving Major League Baseball. MLB needs a guy like him. A lot of the players are scared to voice their opinions. They're scared to be a little bit on the edge, only because of how old school and the unwritten rules that MLB has behind them. So, yeah, I think that the In and Out cleats, I don't have a problem with those. I think a player should be able to wear any cleats they want. But one thing that kind of does piss me off this season is, due to the shortened season, there's no Players Weekend. Players Weekend, I think, is one of the dopest weekends of the year, mainly because the players really get to wear any kind of cleats they want. They get to wear any kind of equipment. They have cool jerseys. They could put anything on the back. And the fact that they couldn't find a weekend this year to use that, it boggles my mind.
I mean, it's becoming like, you know, the NFL, the slogan for the NFL is like the no fun league. Baseball's starting to become that. I mean, everyone loves Players Weekend. I mean, what was it? You had CeCe last year wearing cleats. He never got to wear any different types of cleats. I mean, it lets the players actually be themselves. And we all know MLB has a problem of marketing their players. Still, we have, I think recently, Mike Trout, the only thing he'll tweet about is still the weather. The best player on the planet, the way they think they can market him is the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. But
baseball has been, like, since the beginning, it's been the no fun league. Like, baseball is the originator of when you succeed, you have to keep a straight face. Don't show up your teammates. I mean, don't show up the other team. You know, like, super duper sportsmanship. And you just can't really have fun. You can't be a kid playing the game like you're supposed to have. It's like this really traditional sport. And I think us as Yankees fans have, like, a really interesting perspective on something like this, because if you ask, like, I don't know, a Mariners fan or Padres, like a team that's kind of been, they don't really have an identity over the last couple decades at the very least. They might have been seeing some of these things already. Like guys who had Starlin Castro in their early years, like on the Mariners, the Marlins. That guy was kind of a loose cannon and just kind of played recklessly. Yasiel Puig on the Dodgers, like guys like that. Teams had guys like that already, but they were shut down. The Yankees have never really had an out-of-pocket type of player because that's just not the culture that the Yankees have. So when we had Players Weekend and we saw, players wearing white cleats, we were like, wow, this is amazing. And in reality, it's like this should have been happening all along. And it's like I got killed on Twitter because I supported Andrew McCutcheon's take about, the Yankees' hair policy. And a lot of people thought it was like too much about race, which it wasn't the case. It was just him saying that it takes away their identity. And I completely agree with that. It happens to affect Black players a little bit more because they are already ostracized in the sport. But it's an all around the table thing. Like Garrett Cole not being able to have his intimidating beard. It's like it all comes back full circle. So I think that I like our perspective on it as Yankee fans because we are like the super traditionalists in baseball.
Yeah,
those black jerseys were dope last year.
Yeah, I really liked. I didn't really like the white ones though. I like the black ones. I didn't like the white ones. But as Yankee fans, I know our team talks about this all the time. It's a new school mentality, and I think the old school traditionalist is gonna end up phasing out over time. We see this not only in Major League Baseball, but in the world. There's a lot of old school ideals that are kind of disappearing just because of the newer generation being more open-minded and to be more open to freedom of expression. And I think the Yankees are going to continue moving down that road into eventually probably allowing players to have facial hair, probably allowing players to have longer hair if they want to, mainly because I don't think it's that big of a deal. And currently, it's mostly only the older generation that believes that. If you let Garrett Cole have that beard, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I can make the argument all the time that the Yankees allow players to have mustaches, but no other facial hair. You could easily make the argument that a mustache looks less clean than a well-kept beard. I think that argument could be like when people have mustaches and nothing else, it looks creepy, but that's allowed. But a beard like Garrett Cole's wasn't. I don't agree with it, and I think as time moves on, we're going to see those traditionalist ideas just disappear.
Let Clint grow his hair out.
Who cares? Who cares if somebody's beard looks like a little not clean? If a guy's shoving and has a 2.5 ERA, you can freaking have like a mane.
He could have purple hair if he wants to.
Gotta do.
That's what I'm saying. I think it comes from the point of the Yankees are like, we're paying you millions of dollars, so we have the right to tell you how to dress. I guess I kind of understand it from their perspective because it's history, but it's not that long of history. I think they came up with the rule in like the 70s because of Thurman Munson, right? Yeah. So it's not like it's that old, and those were also during the times where beards weren't really considered corporate. If you go into most corporate offices, a lot of people do have facial hair. If you walk into like Microsoft headquarters, I'm sure you can run into a bunch of people with facial hair. Steve Jobs had a beard. Like, come on. Like, it's not like you don't look homeless if you have a beard. Relax, Yankees. Let's move on and let these guys grow facial hair. It's ridiculous already.
When you think of Charlie Blackmon, what's the first thing you think of?
His beard.
Exactly. Let's say hypothetically Charlie Blackmon would go to the Yankees. There's probably a reason why he won't, because they'll tell him to shave the beard. He would need to say no because.
Well, yeah. Look at Brian Wilson.
Exactly. Yeah. He does not look the same without that beard.
Archie Bradley's another one. He was on CC's podcast and he was talking about how he came back one year from spring training and had the beard going. And he said he felt like his fastball was better, and he kept it. And then the Diamondbacks basically made a whole marketing plan around it. Started selling T-shirts with beards. He had like old women coming to the ballpark with fake beards on. Like it became a thing, and he was like saying, "I can never shave it again because people love it."
Yeah, I think it's a confidence booster for the player. I mean, if you feel like you look better, you play better. I think that's a firm statement that I believe in. If you feel like you look good, you're gonna play better.
If you just have the players only think about being themselves and just going out and playing, they will play a lot better. And that's what the issue right now probably with Manfred is. And actually, going back to Trevor Bauer, besides Boris, I would not be surprised if Manfred has made some attempts to shut down Bauer's podcast. Or not his podcast, his YouTube channel. I mean, I look forward every time he posts for those videos because, especially with being the COVID season. But, I mean, we know Boris is doing it. We know, I think, a pitcher, I want to say Greg Holland or someone, either Holland or Rosenthal, probably not Rosenthal, went after him on Twitter for something like that. I mean, those are – you always want to know, like, what goes on in a team, especially. And Bauer's doing a great job of it. He's kind of like the guy baseball has needed to be like, hey, you want to go with your motto of let the kids play, then actually stand true to it. Not this micromanaging stuff. I mean, who knows? I mean, we all know the CBA ends in 2021 at the end of next year. If the players are still upset, I mean, I believe they'll agree on some of like the pay and stuff. Like they'll get that down. But I think at the end of the day, one of their big talking points will be let them be free, honestly.
I think here's the issue with MLB. They're very scared. And maybe Rob Manfred, deep down in his heart, does want the players to be able to express themselves more. But while he would be opening himself up to that younger demographic, it would also be closing themselves off to that older demographic, which is the majority of their viewership. I mean, we know the majority of people who watch Major League Baseball are older. And if you start letting players express themselves in a more youthful and energized way, might turn off from that older audience. And while you are marketing to the newer guys, maybe Manfred is wary of losing those boomers.
I mean, out with the new, out with the old, in with the new. I mean,
yeah.
You just look at it like people say baseball's boring. Mic up the players. Freddie, I think Jalen, we've talked about this. Freddie Freeman, like when he was mic'd up during spring training. Even when it was Rizzo and Bryant, and as well as Joe Madden, like Mookie Betts 2 years ago when he said like on the mic, he said, "Oh, I'm not gonna get this one." Like, give us an inside look of what's going on in a game. Like, especially with the NFL, they have like a show called Sound Effects, where it's literally just players mic'd up for the past week. Like, give us that. Like, let us know what's going on with the team. That's interesting. That's how you can market players. I love Mike Trout, but I really don't give a shit about the weather. Like,
yeah. What's funny is like football is obviously like, I know people call baseball America's pastime, whatever this, that, and third, but like football is America's sport. And it's obviously way easier to market football than it is baseball because of how exciting the sport is. And how much action is in it. But I find it hilarious that some of the lesser known stars in the NFL are more recognizable than baseball's biggest stars.
It's crazy.
And they wear helmets their entire game. You can't even see their faces. You can barely see their names on the back of their jerseys when they're playing. And most of the country, if we're being honest, doesn't understand either sport to a certain degree. Like, both of them, like, you obviously know if you score, you get points, whatever, but like people don't understand what an offensive lineman does, like on each play. Like, they don't understand the intricacies of each sport. But baseball, just, it's so easy for you to be recognizable because when you play, the spotlight is on you. When you're hitting, you're the only person up hitting. The announcers are supposed to talk about you, give you an introduction, talk about your past at bats, whatever. If you're hot, cold. When you're pitching, same thing. When a ball hits you in the field, the camera goes right on to you. And I see my favorite player, Lindor, has been doing a great job of like almost using like a secondary camera guy who basically just records him the whole game and pregame. Puts together these really dope clips and he posts them onto his Instagram, and it's really cool to like see his routine. And his fans love it, and I love it, and I am picturing him in a Yankee uniform. That's not the point. The main thing, my main question though, like this, I was thinking about this the whole time, and this is probably the most important question of the day. And this is for Brandon. Brandon, how did you end up on Greg Holland's Twitter? That's my main concern.
Yeah, what happened was it was Bauer was talking. Bauer, it was either like I either saw the exchange on Twitter before the video, but in the video he was talking about it, and he flat out called out Holland. It was either, or he at least included the tweet because, of course, he retweeted and I follow Bauer, and then I saw the entire exchange and I was like, all right, whatever the hell's going on. But Boris is, I would never follow Greg Holland, but then once I saw Bauer talking about it, okay, let me go look at this. I mean,
Greg Holland's somewhere crying in a corner right now. But I mean, before we want to wrap things up today, I just have 2 more points I want to make. One, it's not a podcast with Jalen unless he mentions Francisco Lindor. Number 2, I agree 100% with what Jalen said about how football has kind of taken over baseball for America's pastime. Mainly because if we look at MLB, I don't want to say a majority, but a lot of the players who have kind of instilled themselves as the faces of the game come from other countries. And that's mainly because other countries took the sport of baseball and they made it more fun. They put a twist on it. Guys in their home country, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, they play baseball over there with a much more lighthearted attitude. They're not uptight about it. They have fun with it. A lot of them play with a stick and a ball. They don't have extravagant equipment like we do in the United States. In the United States, it's very difficult for someone in a low-income household to play baseball and keep up with all of these other players that are playing AAU and in these travel leagues. And it's not an easy sport for young people in America to play on a budget.
And I think that's the main issue with
younger generation.
What makes the World Baseball Classic so great is you get to let's say you go to the Dominican Republic for a game. You especially saw it when it was the U.S. versus the Dominican Republic in the last WBC. Those fans are loud. Like, they didn't fill up the entire stadium, but they're loud. Like, they got all whatever they're using. Or best case right now, if you're looking just at the MLB, is Oakland. You got their section banging on the drums, the cowbells. Like, that's what you get. But right now it's all kind of just like business as usual. But one more question. Oh, go ahead, Jalen.
Let me just say on this topic, just because I'm glad Pat brought up like baseball in other countries. As a Puerto Rican baseball player, obviously Black Puerto Rican, like the game has always felt like not borrowed, but when you play as a minority in America, especially like if you're playing on mostly white teams, you're kind of afraid to play the way you're comfortable playing. I play the game when I used to play baseball, like I played the game a lot with a lot of flair. I was very Robinson Cano-ish, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't too focused on making everything look routine. I was focused on having fun and making sure I made my plays. And at the end of the day, of course, yeah. That's the thing. Like, baseball is a game at the end of the day. I think that is a misconception, though. Like, Pat, what you said is true, but it's played lighthearted, but not really. Like, it's really, really intense, and it's taken just as serious. And I think that's why people think, like, oh, we take the game more serious over here. To a degree, that's not true, because, like, the game is taken just as serious. It's just played with a lot more flair, and it's way more entertaining. And so, like, that's why guys like Ian Kinsler, and I don't know if people forgot about what he said. I certainly have not. He's probably the player I hate the most, besides, like,
what he said,
Brosseau on the Rays. During the World Baseball Classic, he was just basically saying, like, that Hispanic players shouldn't be role models because, they
did he really say that?
Yeah, like, there's a whole article about it, and he was basically just talking about how the team from DR was just, like, over the top, and, like, kids in the United States shouldn't look to people like that as role models. And that's why I was rooting for Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican and I was rooting for them anyway, but I wanted Puerto Rico to beat the United States in the finals, because I wanted the world to see, like, you can have fun playing baseball and still be good. That's why I was so proud of that Puerto Rican national team, because they showed, in a time of crisis during the hurricanes, they showed that baseball can be played in an entertaining fashion, and also executed very well. And I think you'll see more guys doing that, and that's why I was really excited about a guy like Tatis, and it'll continue to happen.
Yeah. Also, the last point I want to make tonight is that after that conversation, it kind of just makes me realize why baseball is my favorite sport. It's so damn diverse. I mean, comparing it to like other leagues across the country and the world, I mean, what other leagues have guys from basically every country? I mean, you look up and down MLB lineup, you're guaranteed to see some Americans, you're guaranteed to see some Hispanics, some Japanese. I mean, it's crazy how ethnically diverse it is, and it's like a melting pot of because every country plays a sport differently. So it's like when you bring all of them together in one league, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to get more diverse in the sense of like socioeconomic status in America, so that more kids have opportunity.
I hear you.
In a lot of countries, like baseball is those kids' ticket, which is why you see a lot of people defecting from Cuba and like people signing out of Puerto Rico, DR. But if you give a lot of these kids in the inner cities the same opportunity to baseball as some of these really really rich kids from the suburbs, you'll see a lot more talent. And I
I
think
agree.
they're trying to do that. And I think there's a lot of initiative amongst, especially like black players that notice that that's a problem. So I think we'll start seeing that a little bit more too.
Yep.
I think that's all we really got for tonight. Want to thank you, Pat, for actually coming on with us.
Of course.
And hopefully the Yankees start winning. If I'm just gonna throw that in, because I don't know how much more I can take this, but
Brandon, stay off Greg Holland's Twitter. It's good. It's not good for your health.
It's a good piece of advice.
all right, take care, everyone.
Have a good one.